thanks so much for coming back to my channel. Before I get started with this video of all the books I've read during quarantine, I wanted to do my channel shout outs, and that is going to Moviemania Nick and Sheila Klugman are my shout outs for this video. If you want a shout out in the next video, just leave me a comment down below. Today's question, I guess, will be how many books did you read while quarantined? I didn't actually do a full count of how many books I read, but it was quite a bit. I actually thought I would read more, but we'll see. So I'm kind of trying to do like a weekly vlog type video or a weekly video that's a little more like lifestyle-y, so that's what's starting this week. I literally, right before all this started, was committed to doing weekly vlogs, and then we were quarantined, and I was like, I have nothing to vlog about. So I thought a nice jump in would be all the books I've read. I'm not going to go over all of them in extreme detail because there are so many, but you know, like the one, and like also like to be quite honest, since it's been since March and we're in June, March, April, like 3 months of reading is compiled here, and I honestly forget a lot of these books, which doesn't really speak to how much they affected me. This isn't in order either because it all got kind of out of order on my shelf. I was trying to keep them and it just, whatever. So the first book I kind of started when quarantine was just beginning. It's called Storm and Fury. It's a young adult fantasy. I'm typically not a big fantasy person, and like I like young adult books, and a young adult fantasy is kind of for me. This is basically, I actually do remember this. It was about a girl who lived among like gargoyles, and they were like protectors, and these demons were coming and trying to take over, and she was like half demon, and that was like her big secret, and she was being like trained with these gargoyles. And I thought it was pretty good. I believe I gave it like 4 out of 5 stars. It was interesting. I feel like there could have been a little more like world building. I feel like there could have been some more details, but this was the first book. I think I would read a second book and kind of see where I'm at. I'm like on the fence about continuing like a whole series, but I liked it, Storm and Fury. So now we're kind of getting out of order because I definitely read this a little later. But the next book I read was 13 Little Blue Envelopes. It was basically about a girl whose aunt passed away and left her these blue envelopes throughout Europe so she could like travel by herself. I don't remember it in a lot of detail. I feel like I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It's another young adult book by Maureen Johnson. I thought it was cute. I think it just kind of was like young adult books for me are like very hit or miss, and I know it's because I'm not really like the age that people like, it's like marketed towards, but you know, I thought it was really cute and sweet and just like a nice light fun read, which is definitely what I was craving at this point in quarantine. I feel like this was like early April-ish that I read this, and I remember I just like needed something light and fun, and it definitely delivered on that. The next book I have here is Love and Luck, Jenna Evans Welch, another young adult, really starting off strong with those. This is basically about a girl who is in Ireland for her aunt's wedding, and she comes off of getting her heart broken by a boy, and her brother kind of go on this adventure, and it's like kind of self-discovery for both of them. It was another like very sweet, light book. I really liked it. It made me wish I could travel. I was getting a lot of FOMO while reading this because I was like, oh, it's like so nice that they're just like gallivanting around Europe. That's not an option really at this current time. So it was really cute. It was sweet. I think I gave it like 3 out of 5 stars because it was just like, it was kind of like nothing special. Even now I'm like kind of forgetting details, and I really did not read this that long ago, but you know, it was a nice, sweet, easy, light book, which is like a lot of these because I think that's what I really needed during all of this. The next book I read was Made by Stephanie Land. This book was tricky. I enjoyed reading it. It read really well, and I definitely wanted to find out what was going to happen next. I read it fairly quickly. I thought it was a well-written book. I'm always interested in books like this, like memoirs and books about people who find themselves in tough situations and what they do to get out of it. I had a lot of empathy for her in the beginning. It sounded like her parents were kind of rough, and it seemed like, you know, she was definitely someone you were rooting for, but then she made a few weird moves throughout the book where I was just like, what? Like, she has a kid, and that's difficult, and she was living in this apartment that had like a mold problem, and her child was constantly sick because of this mold problem. And I remember like reading it and like the doctors being like, you need to find a new place to live, she's so sick, you need to get her into a better environment. Then she gets a tax return for $4,000, and I was just like, I think I would find a new place to live, since that's been like a really persistent thing throughout this entire book. And she doesn't do that right away, and she buys herself like a ring to remind herself that she just needs herself and she doesn't need a husband, and it was just weird. And like, I love the sentiment, sure, but your daughter is always sick, so maybe work on that, and then if you have something left over, buy yourself a ring. So stuff like that like bothered me. Like, she made a lot of moves that I was kind of like, okay. But like overall, like, I enjoyed it, but then there were just like things she did here and there where I was just like kind of strange, but also no one's perfect, and in that situation, can't say I wouldn't do the same, but like, it was just kind of weird. So it was like, I was like oscillating between like, wow, this is so difficult, she's doing such a great job trying to get out of it, and then like, what the heck is she doing? So it's kind of like, I felt very on the fence. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars just because I liked reading it. I thought it was well written, but like, I did have some issues. And if you read it, because this book has been like popping around BookTube, I've seen it like on little book clubs, like I feel like it's been like well advertised, and I think a lot of people have read it. If you've read this, please let me know your thoughts, because I don't know. Like, I'm still thinking about it, which is probably good, but I've ranted a lot about this book. I have others. The next book I have here is The Echo Room. This was a young adult book. Honestly, wasn't a big fan. I think I gave it 2 or 3 stars. Just from the beginning, they were trying to suck you into something, and I honestly, like, I did not read this that long ago, and it's just like out of my head already. Like, it didn't really sit with me. It didn't like stay with me. I didn't care, and I found myself just trying to get through it because it was kind of like an easy, quick read, but it took longer than it probably should have. The next book I have here was The Dry Heart. This was I think it was like an Italian book that was translated, if I am not mistaken. And it was just this like nice, really short read, basically about a woman who kills her husband, and just kind of like the events leading up to that. I gotta say, like, the guy deserved it. But like, it was like, I wasn't sure what to expect from this, but I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars. Loved it. The next book I have is Because Internet, Understanding the New Rules of Language. I was just trying to like expand myself here because I feel like I was reading a lot of light books, and I read this not too long ago, kind of towards the end of not working and being quarantined. And I was just kind of trying to not just read fluffy fiction books, young adult books. I was trying to expand myself, and it was just, I don't know. It basically, this book just talks about how, like, on the internet and through email and stuff, and like with emojis, how like communicating that way is just this whole new way of communicating, and there's certain like punctuation and things that you do that might be perceived as rude when that's not what you're actually meaning. And I mean, it was like mildly interesting. I feel like if it was just like an article, I would have enjoyed it a lot more if you just gave me like the really big bullet points, but it just went into such depth about stuff that like, I feel like if I was older and just like wasn't like, hadn't grown up in like communicating with people online, I would be like, oh yeah, that's super interesting, because I might not know all of it, but I feel like so much of it is just stuff I do naturally because I have done this since forever. Like, I don't know, it just wasn't for me. I think the concept behind it was interesting, but a whole book I found a little bit dull. The next book I have is The Intent to Live, Larry Moss. This is an acting book. I've read it before. Reading it again was just as good. It's a book I'm going to try to reread even more often because it's my second time through it. It's just, I love it. It's just very insightful. I might have even talked about it on this channel before, but love it and cannot recommend it enough. Okay, so I got into a weird romance novel kick during this quarantine, and I actually my boyfriend got me a bunch of romance novels for my birthday. So this is one that like was steamy, because I was having trouble. Like, I had a few that were like steamy, and then I had a few that were like, it took forever to get to any like steamier scenes, and so he like did research and found the best ones for that. So this was called Willing Victim by Kara McKenna, and it has some controversy because it basically has like a rape fantasy thing, but like the reviews like on Goodreads, I guess, or like it like isn't as bad as it sounds like in the context of the book. So I was super nervous to read it because that's something where I'm like, ooh, I don't think so. But it somehow worked for me. I don't know, like I would say like proceed with caution because I was nervous going into it, but it's pretty good. If you've read this, please let me know because it's like really short and it just gets right to the point, and I enjoyed it. On a totally different spectrum, here's this children's book, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I've read this before. I just did it as a reread. It was kind of like a comfort read for me during this. I had just watched the cartoon, and I was like, I'll read Alice in Wonderland now, and it's just sweet and nice. 5 out of 5 stars for me because it's just like A, nostalgia, and B, it's a classic, and I just love it. I love it. Okay, my camera just abruptly died, so I'm back after recharging a little bit. So the next book I have here is called Darkest Flame. This was another attempt at a romance novel that I tried. This is like another horrible attempt. All these, like, I feel like I like lucked out on one book that I chose myself, and this was basically like a fantasy romance, which I am doubly not into because I'm very on the fence about fantasy anyways. And it was just like a lot of talk about like dragons and fae. And I was like, I don't care. Like, I just want to get to the good stuff. And you're like trying to build a whole world of fairies and stuff that I just like don't care about. So, and it just like, it took a while to get there with this as well. And I don't know, it just like wasn't for me. I feel like I gave it like 2 or 3 stars. The next book I have, this book, Supermarket by Bobby Hall. So bad. Like, so bad. I feel like I gave it 1 star. Like, the only redeeming quality of this book was it was readable. Barely. I got through it pretty quickly. I kind of, like, as I started it, I like, got too far in to be like, I didn't want to DNF it because I don't like DNFing books, and I knew I could get through it quickly, but I would literally read it and just be like, what the fuck's going on? I hate this. Like, I would throw the book because it was just so annoying. It was so annoying. It's just, the dialogue was terrible. The twists, like, so obvious. Like, just, it was just so, like, there's gonna be a twist. Here's foreshadowing. Sorry, honey. Like, just so, like, not clever. Bad. Don't recommend it. Like, don't read it. Don't waste your time. My boyfriend read it, and I saw it on Goodreads. He gave it like 2 stars. I was like, it can't be that bad. It sounds good. I like books like this. And I read it, and I'm like, yeah, it's that bad. It's that bad. Don't read it. Don't do it. Just don't do it to yourself. I can't remember specifics because it's been a while. I read this towards the beginning. I just remember hating it. Hated it. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. You're going to waste your time. Here's another book I hated. Bliss, Lindsay Sands. This is a romance novel like a lot. I don't know if you can see it. Like, I don't know. I know nothing about romance novels. This is a new hobby of mine. And I just think, like, with this cover, like, it should be steamy, right? Like, I realized covers like this don't correlate with steamy because, like this guy's, like, shirtless, bad. This one is, like, you know, like, you think it's going to be steamy, bad. So bad. It was so annoying. I, like, flipped out. Like, I think it got, like, over, like, I feel like I was, like, 60% done when they finally, like, had a sex scene, but so much of it was she hates him, he hates her, she wants to do everything she can so they can't get married. There's a whole scene about her chewing on garlic so her breath will stink, and it was so long, so detailed about her chewing on garlic, and I flipped out. Like, it was just not what I wanted. It was really bad, and once again, like, I just don't like DNFing books unless they are just insanely bad. And, I mean, I just got through it, and I didn't like it. I don't recommend. If you want, it's just mild salsa romance. I guess, if that's kind of what you wanted. If that's more what you're like into, then yeah, read it. But it wasn't my intention in reading romance books, so there you go. This book, I don't know. I have a lot of bad ones. I must have a good one. I mean, I had some good ones. A lot average to bad reads during quarantine, but it might have just been my headspace, so forgive. This is Happiness Hacks. We got a huge book outlet order, and I thought I would get a couple new self-help books for me to read in the morning. So this was Happiness Hacks, and they're just like these things you could do to help yourself be happier, but a lot of them had to do with seeing people, and we were quarantined when I was reading it, so I was like, I hate my life, I don't even know. And then some of them are weird, like drink wine, like just sort of unhealthy things, so it was just a little bit strange, I don't know. And I was just also bitter because we were in quarantine and I couldn't do most of these hacks, so there you go. This book, I feel like I've read it before, and I think I've talked about it. So what to say when you talk to yourself, it's just a book. So we have these messages about ourselves that have been like wired into our brains, and it really affects everything. So it's just rewiring messages that we say to ourselves, because we often just aren't very kind to ourselves. And it's just a lot of that, and it was a really good reread for me. This one. Wallbanger, Alice Clayton, another romance attempt. It was actually a cute story. Unlike these two books, I really liked the story. I was not going into it necessarily for a cute story, but in the end I did enjoy the story. Getting to the steamy scenes took more than half the book, and like a huge plot line was the girl has been having trouble finding her orgasm. So, like, that was a huge plot point. So the first time she finally has sex with the dude, she, like, doesn't. And I was just like, ugh, why couldn't it have been good? Like, it's just sort of like, that was a letdown. But I will say, overall, the story was really sweet. And there was definitely, like, I was interested in the characters beyond just, sex scenes and stuff. So besides that, I enjoyed it. It was well written. I did read... I like to read kind of like actor type books in the morning as well. So I had read An Actor Prepares. I don't know if I talked about it at all, but I also got through Building a Character and Creating a Role in the Stanislavski trilogy of books. Yeah, I would say like I love An Actor Prepares. I think there's so much good stuff in that. Building a Character was I enjoyed. I think An Actor Prepares is my favorite. I think there is more valuable things for how I like to approach acting. I think Stanislavski method is a tricky one to completely do. I kind of like doing a conglomeration of different methods for what works for certain roles. I don't like to do like, I'm not just like Stanislavski or Meisner trained. Like I like to just do what's going to work. So having those things is good in my opinion. I like Building a Character. Creating a Role went into a lot of depth of a few plays, and I don't know if it wasn't really for me. The way it was a little bit dry, and the only one I knew of the three that I have like studied and read was Othello, and I think if I had read the other play that he like went through, then I would be like, okay, like more into it. So I don't know. Well, this book was pretty good. Arrowhead, Laura McHugh. This was kind of like a mystery thriller sort of book, which I'm always super into. It's about a girl who goes back to her childhood home. When she was little, her twin sisters were kidnapped, and it's never been found out what happened to them. So she's been kind of like feeling empty her whole life. And when she finally goes back, she basically uncovers what happens to them. And it's just kind of, it's a little bit, this is like dusty from sitting on my shelf. But yeah, it's just, I really enjoyed it. I was pretty satisfied with the ending. I'm not often satisfied with how it all turns out, but I thought it was well done. I liked how when we found out who actually like took the kids and stuff. I didn't quite see that coming, so I thought it was good. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend. I got this randomly at Barnes & Noble, one of those bargain shelves, and I hadn't heard about it, but I really liked it a lot. I liked the scene that was set, and I found the book really enjoyable. I read it towards the beginning of quarantine, and when I still had hope, so maybe that's why I have such fond memories, but I really liked it a lot. The next book I have was Sylvia Day, Buried to You. This was my first attempt at a romance novel, and this was actually really, really good in terms of like what I'm looking for in romance novels. And you know, there was just like a lot of sex scenes, and it was all very steamy and whatever. The only thing that was just kind of hilarious was basically, you know, it like gets right to it. But this couple basically will like have sex, and then there'll be like this blowout fight, and it happened like 5 times where it was just like the tiniest incident will like incite this huge fight about like I don't even know what, and it was just kind of funny because it happened so much, and I was just like, this isn't healthy. And I feel like it moved so fast, the relationship, that this couple, I don't really know, but I want to say they were together for like 2 weeks during this book, and it was just a lot of drama. Like, I feel like if I was on the other side of the drama, I feel like they both created it, but if I was dating someone and drama was happening 2 weeks in, I'd be like, oh, peace, I'm out. This is really weird. So, yeah, it was kind of hilarious, but overall, one of the better romance books that I had read, because I clearly picked some duds. The last book I have was Wicked, Gregory Maguire. I feel like I might have talked about this on a DVR. Oh my god, it's so dusty. I definitely read this at the beginning. This is gross. I've been cleaning, I swear. But I definitely read this at like the beginning of quarantine. It's just been sitting on my shelf, ready for me to talk about ever since. So I like tried reading this a long time ago, like in college, and I wanted to read it because I really liked the musical, and I love the concept of these fairy tales, because Gregory Maguire wrote like a few other books where it's just basically from like an antagonist where it's from an antagonist's point of view, and I like that idea a lot. The first time I tried reading it, it wasn't my cup of tea, and I feel like I just lost interest and was probably busy with other stuff and just stopped. This time, like, kind of the same, but I had more time on my hands because I was just sitting home all day, every day, in the lockdown, and, you know, it was better than I was expecting, but I wouldn't read any of his other books. I don't think it was for me. It was fine. I got through it. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. It was a little long for what it was, and I kind of thought things could come together a little better, if that makes sense. Like, just with The Wizard of Oz, like, from that movie aspect, I feel like things could have just been better. And more like, oh, that's so cool how it connects, and it kind of wasn't, and, I don't know. So it was So yeah, that's what I read in quarantine. I don't even know how many books this is. It's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 books. Okay, that's not bad. Alright, I'm happy with that. I feel like that's good. I kind of thought I would do even better, but that's not bad. I'm not going to snuff at that. So yeah, that is my little weekly vlog type video for this week. I'm going to try to put these out on Sundays. I liked the idea of doing it, and now that life is kind of not back to normal, but going a little more, I can do this now. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments how many books you read during quarantine. I read 21. Or if you read any, and I'm doing shout outs again, so comment for a shout out as well. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.